What is up, everybody? We are back for Fashion Souls 3. Well, Fashion Souls 2, but for Dark Souls 3. But yeah, so ideally, with this video, I wanted to get the absolute best Fashion Souls combinations that I could find for Dark Souls 3. I mean, personally, I'm very picky, and a lot of people do say Fashion Souls, but it doesn't seem pretty fucking fashionable if you ask me. Now, like the last video, we've given ourselves some rules. We are not allowed to use the chest and legs of any one piece of armour, because frankly, it just becomes quite overpowering. You know, it doesn't look particularly different if you're wearing both the chest and legs of one set and you're just changing the gauntlets and the helmet. So ideally, for these combinations, what we wanted is 4 completely separate bits of armour to come and join together into one cohesive looking set that looks like it could have been in the game. Now, we managed to do this for Dark Souls 2 pretty well, and done it for Dark Souls 3 pretty well as well. So without any more dilly-dallying, let's just get into it. So with our first combination, you can see that this set looks particularly cohesive. I mean, when I was first shown this set, I thought it was actually a set from the game itself. So yeah, we've got the Thief Mask, the Robe of Prayer, Cornix Wraps, and Old Sorcerer Boots. Now this all comes together to really look like quite a, you know, a raggedy sort of nomad, kind of deserty looking. Definitely has a sort of, you know, Arab, Middle Eastern vibe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this guy Blackula, the Sand Avenger. Now if you ask me, nothing has ever had a more fitting name personally. Now with all of these, or some of these Fashion Souls combinations, I do have some alternate pieces of armour that you can use if you want. Now the Follower's Boots goes particularly well with this setup, possibly even better than the Sorcerer's Trousers. They're a little bit more raggedy than the Sorcerer's Trousers, so if you want, you know, you can definitely use them and, you know, they work just as well. So there is certain pieces of armour that we've tried to not use more than once, but some bits just keep coming up because they're so good, the Thief's Mask being one of them. It pretty much goes with basically everything, so that's pretty much a go-to like headpiece if you're ever feeling stuck for a Fashion Souls thing. But yeah, it works especially well for this combination and indeed our combination for later on in the video. So this next combination you may remember from Fashion Souls, the first video that we've done. Now this one works really well, and especially in Dark Souls 3, because it seems like they changed the hue of the red on the Sorcerer's Hood to actually match the set of the Alva armour at this point. So I really appreciated that from FromSoft, thanks. Now, admittedly, Lucatiel's trousers don't really work with this anymore, but the Elite Knight set does go pretty well. I personally don't really like the Alva leggings, so the Elite Knight goes with this set much better in my opinion, and the knee pads kind of, you know, go with the whole shoulder pauldron thing. Now, if you do remember, this guy was called the Armoured Tampon, which still stands, if you ask me. I think the name still fits pretty well. But I do especially like this combination, just because you know the red and the armour just goes particularly well, so you're not like completely a fully armoured dude, but at the same time, you know, you're not completely not armoured. So it's a nice middle ground, I think, and it's got flappy bits and shit. So overall, armour set goes pretty well. There's also nothing that I would really change for this armour setup, to be honest. It goes pretty well and nothing else really goes with it. Alright, so this setup is fucking legitness, right? This actually looks like a set in the game. And unbelievably, the Sunset Helm, for whatever reason, goes especially well, despite looking fucking retarded. So you've got the Fallen Knight armour, Assassin's Gloves, and Assassin's Trousers. Now, you can also use the Undead Legion trousers as well for this setup, and they go pretty well also because they've got buckles and the rest of the setup has buckles. So it kind of has a bit of a cohesive setup if you want to, you know, have a setup that is like 4 completely different sets of armour. Obviously we're wearing the Assassin's Gloves and the Assassin's Trousers. So yeah, this setup is especially cool. Now, this guy's got like, it's got a ragtag look, kind of looks, you know, I want to say like a bit of a bounty hunter type guy, you know, the kind of guy who gets the job done. So, you know, bit rough around the edges, bit ragtag. So I'm going to call this guy the Homeless Hombre. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I think that's a pretty fitting name, if you ask me. Now, if you don't like the Sunset Helm, or you don't have it, the Thief Mask does also work with this setup. And I think it's also kind of interesting to note that the Fallen Knight set doesn't really work as a set of armour, it just looks better as used as an overcoat. But yeah, you can use the Thief Mask, the Silver Mask, or even the Black Hand Hat works with this setup as well, so there's quite a lot of flexibility in terms of getting this overall vibe, but with lots of different parts. Now, I swear, if there's anything that the making of this video has made me realise is that trying to actually invade someone and fucking kill them with unoptimal equipment and without a HUD is almost impossible, by the way. So some of these bits of like invasion footage, I physically cannot kill anybody with the setup. It was taking too long. I'm just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just better off spent making the video rather than fucking spending 4 years just trying to get the footage for it. So yeah, you're just going to deal with that. Not that you need to deal with it, or not that anybody would have picked up on it, but it's just something that I want to mention because holy shit, invasions are so unfair towards the invader. Now, here is an especially cool looking set, and it does almost look as if it could have been in the game as well. The only discrepancy is that, you know, the chest piece doesn't quite have the same sort of engravings as the legs, but otherwise it's the kind of thing that you'd look over because they're basically the same colour, right? We've got the Outrider helm, Fire Witch armour, Fire Witch gauntlets, Sunless leggings. You know, it's looking pretty good. Now, the Sunless leggings are actually another part of armour that goes with literally almost anything, and especially a little bit of chainmail in the front, it really sets off a lot of different bits of armour. So as a Fashion Souls tip, that is a go-to bit of leggings if you just don't know what to pick. Now, this guy does look quite, you know, royal, you know, like a high stature kind of knight, or maybe even like an assassin or a spy in like a, you know, Gwyn's army or something like that. So, you know, I was thinking maybe a more serious name for this guy would, you know, be a better fit. So I'm going to call this guy Royal Ithrilli Knight. Guardian of the throne of Gwyn, protector of the Lord Vessel and all that is holy. Watcher of the moon and ambassador of the blades of said moon that is also dark, by the way. So, I mean, I think it just rolls off the tongue perfectly, honestly. It's just, oh, so good. Now, in terms of this thing's equipment setup, neither of these weapons are even remotely usable in PvP. You know, the Crescent Moon Sword isn't even necessarily that bad, like you can hit people with it, but it just does no damage. I mean, the fact that you can reliably hit people with its weapon art is actually pretty cool because it's quite fast, but it just, you can't kill anyone with it. It's, ah! So this set uses the Fire Witch armor like the last setup that we had. Now, as you can see, they can look dramatically differently from having like 3 other different parts. So I think that's pretty cool. This guy, you know, the overall look is completely different as well. This guy's a lot more darker looking, a lot more edgier looking really, and you know, the main part of the armor is the chest piece, and even though it shares the same chest piece as the last guy, you know, it looks completely different, which is cool. Now, obviously, I think a lot of the edginess, it's got something to do with the dual scythe setup, and you know, I think that an edgy looking character deserves an edgy name. Hence why we're going to call this guy Edgelord 1080 Ti, because he's an upgrade from the Edgelord from the last video. So, something I will say is the dual scythes are actually quite decent weapons to use. It would appear that basically every weapon that came from the DLC basically outclasses every other weapon in the base game, regardless of what weapon it fucking is apparently. But yeah, fucking dual scythes are really good, and this setup is really good as well. There's not a whole lot you can change on this particular setup to give it the same vibe, aside from maybe the gloves. And then you can just pick basically any Ithrillian type armor set and it'll basically look the same, let's be honest. Like I said, the Thief Mask goes with a lot of things, and especially this particular setup. Now, this setup is Steven's actual, like this is this armor set that he uses. And no wonder, because it looks pretty fucking badass actually. So, we're dealing with the Thief Mask, the Black Hand armor, the Nameless Knight gauntlets, and the Sunless leggings. Now, the Sunless leggings go especially well with this setup because the little, like, chainmail bit at the front, like, you know, bridges the gap of the Black Hand armor, so it just kind of brings the armor set together, I think. Now, this armor set is used by quite a lot of people, actually, and most of the time they're always using the Karthus curved sword. They're always fucking using long swords and shit like that. So I'm just gonna call this guy Meta Sheep, because that is exactly what everybody is when they use this fucking setup. Now, in terms of the weapon setup I used for this thing, I used the Crow Quills, or the Crow Talon, I think it's a quill, and it's not bad. It's just a rapier that has like a weird jumping attack. It's not got the best of damage, but regardless, it looks cool, right? So I mean, that's really all there is all there is to say about it. But I mean, having infinite throwing knives is actually kind of decent, so you know, whatever. it was also quite nice to find some cunt that would actually just 1v1 me in an invasion properly. Jesus Christ. Now, tell you this setup nearly didn't even make the list. I wasn't entirely sure when I was like suggested this setup. I was like, I don't know, man. I wasn't a fan of like combining the drying armor and like Dark Souls 2 for Fashion Souls because I always felt it was really overpowering. But, you know, I was just like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I tried it on, and then I played about with other armor sets with the drying armor. And I'm like, you know what? Nothing actually looks as good as this particular setup does. I was quite surprised. It's not as overpowering as I thought, and each set actually complements the drying armor really well. You've got this like kind of noble looking, but at the same time completely black armored knight. And I was like, wow, this looks pretty fucking dapper. So I'm going to name this guy Drang Daniel, because I love outdated memes. So depending on what you want to go for, you can actually switch the Morn's leggings and black gauntlets with Morn's gauntlets and the black leggings for a slightly different but equally as good look. I think Morn's leggings look pretty decent because of like the engravings or whatever, but if you don't want something as you know, flashy or whatever, you can use the black leggings and they look just as good but just in a different way. Now when it comes to the frayed blade, it is a pretty decent weapon, if I'm being totally honest. It was one of the easier times I had invading and killing someone. Again, highlighting the fact that all the DLC weapons are just straight up better. Believe it or not, this guy is actually probably my favourite out of the lot, unbelievably. Because, right, so it's just 4 completely different sets of armour that amounts to... It just looks like the knight set. It basically doesn't look any different. So, something I will say is you can change the Drake Blood gauntlets to the Faram gauntlets if you want for a slightly more, I mean it looks a little bit more the right colour of the armour, but you know I preferred this slightly slimmer look of the Drake Blood gauntlets, but you know you might go with the Faram. In fact, honestly it does not fucking matter, right? You can just use whatever fucking armour you want, any 4 bits of armour and it'll basically look good. But something I will say is the Elite Knight helm goes a lot better with the Knight armour than the Knight helm. Go figure, right? So I think I'm just going to name this guy something completely appropriate, and it's literally just a cunt in armour, because that is literally all he fucking is. And something I will say is that the broadsword is pretty good. It just goes to show you, every longsword class weapon is pretty much usable in PvP, because again, this is one of the easier times I had for actually invading and killing somebody. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I think that this looks like an actual set of armour in the game, and believe it or not, it actually isn't. So it's the Sage's Big Hat, Court Sorcerer's Robes, Firekeeper Gloves, and Fire Witch Leggings, the pinnacle of Fashion Souls, might add. So, for one, right, the Court Sorcerer's Robe doesn't go with any skirt aside from the Fire Witch skirt, simply because all the other skirts like clip through the robe like really badly, but for some reason the Fire Witch one just doesn't do that, which is fucking fantastic, right? So not only that, the hat goes with the Court Sorcerer's Robes and the Firekeeper Gloves. It just ties it all together, which is why I'm gonna call this guy Why Wasn't This in the Actual Game? Now I don't know if it's me, it probably is, but something that I've learned from making this video in this particular set of armour is that it is fucking impossible to kill anybody with magic in this game. I mean, maybe in PvP, like in the arena, sure, but invasions, you just can't do it. It's... hours. I tried for hours to just kill someone, and I had like 70 int, just trying to one-shot someone with a Crystal Soul Spear or something. I got 0 results from this. So, I mean... all I've learned is that Miyazaki is shit. He can't do... Just fucking balance the game, please. So you may be thinking, well, what the fuck does this setup have anything to do with Fashion Souls? It's just basically the Sorcerer's Robe, right? And you'd be completely correct. However, I discovered one incredibly interesting thing, kinda akin to the whole rogue leggings in Dark Souls 2, which had like a little flappy bit with certain chest pieces. So, the Old Sage Blindfold is a headpiece that does not take away the hood from the Sorcerer's Robe. And there's very, very few things in the game that actually let you do this, and the Old Sage Blindfold is the only thing that looks remotely decent whilst doing that as well. So, you know, combined with the Sorcerer's Robe and the Blindfold, I think it makes for quite an interesting look. Not only that, the Conjurer manchettes, like it rolls up the sleeves on the robe as well, further changing the look of the robe. And Personally for me, I think that the robe has a big gap in the middle and it covers your legs, so it just looks like you're floating about in place. So if you've got the Conjurator boots, or at least the one that has the skirt on it, that looks significantly better as well. That basically fills in the gap and it makes you not look like you're floating about in place. So, I mean, there you go. There's an interesting Fashion Souls thing. It's not the greatest looking thing ever, but it's definitely one of the more interesting things that I've got on the list. In terms of a name, I genuinely couldn't think of fucking anything. So, like in the last video, I'll let you guys name this one. So, yeah, give me your good suggestions down in the comments. And please try harder than the last video. Everybody had such shit suggestions for the last one. Okay, so the last set that I wanted to show you is just an example of something that I thought was really, really nice. And, right, it's literally just the Dancer's set, but with a Knight's Helm. Now, I think it looks so good. I mean, the Dancer's Helm looks good on some things, but I don't think it looks as good on the Dancer's armor. But the thing that I specifically like about this is the fact that most, if not all, Dark Souls 3 armors have like some kind of flappy bit, but this doesn't have any, so that's quite interesting. Another way that you can mix this up is actually by swapping out the Dancer's leggings for, again, the Sunless leggings, and it actually increases the hips width, so it actually makes it look a like more different than just a leg swap. So I think that was pretty cool. But I mean, I just think it looks fucking fantastic. The Dancer's armor is just, so good. So on that note, I guess I'm going to end the video there, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you found some Fashion Souls combinations you want to try out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, again, massive shout out to everybody on Patreon that's helping the channel out. I genuinely couldn't do this without you guys. Seriously, thank you so much. Seriously, I'm going to say it every fucking video because I really fucking mean it. But again, thank you, and just going to wrap this up because it's been quite long, this video. So I'll see you in the next video, guys, and hopefully it won't take as long as this video took to make. It definitely shouldn't. Hopefully one next week, maybe. But yeah, see you then, guys.
That's why they call him the tax man. The rest of us had these little notepads or something. He had this big ledger. Looked funny walking door to door with it, like the tax man, which ain't bad as far as